Hey guys, this is Wendy Pennell, realtor and broker with On Track Realty, talking mainly to my buyers today about the closing disclosure and the 3-day rule. All right, guys, so you're asking me right now, what is a closing disclosure? Well, guys, the closing disclosure is going to come from your lender, and it's going to tell you all the stuff about the loan you're getting. It's going to tell you your interest rate. It's going to tell you your monthly payment. The term, is it 15 years, 20 years, 30 years that you'll be repaying that? It's going to give you all that great information. It's going to tell you how much your closing costs are. Okay, guys? Really important information for you to know to decide if you're going to go on with this closing, okay? Now, a long, long time ago, in a galaxy not so far away, there was no 3-day rule. So what would happen? Well, buyers would be an hour before closing, and then they would get that information, okay? The closing disclosure information. And they would be like, wait a minute, this is not the interest rate you quoted me. But what can they do, okay? They're an hour before closing. So it put buyers in an incredibly difficult position because they really wanted the house, okay? Also back then, very complicated terms, very complicated loan programs, interest rates, okay, guys? And then we would have these buyers that had to decide within, an hour whether or not to close. So enter the 3-day rule. Nowadays, guys, that closing disclosure information has to be released 3 days before closing. Why is that? So if it's not what the buyer expected, they can say, hey, Mr. Lender, this is not what you told me. And they can go back and forth about it and kind of figure out where the confusion is. 3 days is a good amount of time for you to really get clarity on that. Okay, makes sense. I think it's a great rule. Now, one little tidbit, okay, for my sellers. Guys, if the closing disclosure hasn't been released 3 days before closing, you need to know you're not closing on time, okay? There's no need to even ask. If that closing disclosure hasn't been released, you're not closing. All right, guys, but here's something you need to know. If the closing disclosure has been released in time, does that mean definitely you're closing? No. It means that you're probably closing. It's looking good. But you do need to know that you can have that disclosure released within the 3 days and still not close, and I've definitely seen it happen. All right, guys, so now both for my buyers and sellers, you guys know more about the closing disclosure and the 3-day rule. Listen, if you liked this video, please share it with your friends. You guys have a great day.